The whole idea behind this podcast is to give people information they can use to travel in a better way.
I think river cruising is probably one of the most authentic ways of travel that you can actually do.
You are delivering travelers right into the center in a sort of intimate, up close and personal way.
Hello and good day, everyone. I'm Mike Putman.
And I am James Ferrara. Welcome to No Tourist Allowed. And welcome back, I should say, right, Mike? Because you and I have been appropriately all over the world in the last couple of weeks.
And hopefully not acting like tourists. But yeah, it's been a very busy summer. I have been in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 countries in over the summer. I'm sure you've been to quite a few as well. And we're not done with the summer yet. We got a good bit more. And I know I've got a couple of more upcoming trips. And I'd like to share out about those. But we also have a very exciting guest today, James, and somebody you know pretty well, I believe.
I do. I know him from our business in the UK, but he has recently become president of his company as it has moved into the United States now. So we're going to go right to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I've got to step away for another engagement, but I will be back towards the end of that interview, hopefully.
Yep.
And then we will pick back up.
Okay, you go take your meeting, and I am very honored to have this gentleman with us. Thank you, Mike, and you go ahead and take care of what you need to take care of, and we'll see you back here in a few minutes. In the meantime, we have a very special guest today. Really, the whole purpose of today's podcast is to talk to this gentleman, someone I know from the UK and my company's work in the UK, but he has now been visited upon us in North America and in fact is now the president of Riviera Travel here in North America, having come to us from the UK. Kind of around July 4th. So it's a little bit of a reverse maneuver here. Um, I'd like you to meet Stuart Milan. Stuart, welcome to No Tourists Allowed.
Thank you very much, James. Thank you.
Okay, and great to have you here. We've caught up previously in New York, and you are enjoying the balmy weather of South Florida. But more importantly, you are building a brand here in the United States, a brand that's very well known in the UK and in Europe, very respected, and a little new to the travel industry here in the United States. But we're all very excited to have Riviera Travel here. Before we get into all that, though, I know that our listeners would love to know a little bit more about you. Now, when Mike is here, he does these rapid fire questions about personal travel preferences as a way to get to know you. You game?
Yeah, I'm game. Let's go.
Okay, be
Let's
careful what you wish for.
go.
So, first of all, aisle or window?
Oh, aisle.
Aisle. Yeah, me too. I'm an aisle guy.
Yes.
Need to be able to escape easily
Yeah.
if necessary.
100%. If you need to escape, you need to go. Yeah.
We actually had someone who once said middle seat, and we
Nice.
ejected them from the podcast. um, okay, and when you travel, uh, first of all, are you carry on or check luggage?
Depends. Europe is mainly carry on. If I'm coming over here, then it's definitely a check luggage situation.
Yeah, it has to do, of course, with the length and complexity of the trip. When I go to these industry events and I need like 3 suits and a couple of sport jackets, and I have a size 12 foot. So if I need like 3 pairs of shoes, forget it. I can't be carrying on. I need a bag just for my shoes.
Yeah.
So
No, I think, do you know, a short haul European trip for me when I'm in the UK, you're only there for a couple of nights, or you can shove it all in a single bag and you're away. But you know, here trying to do a little bit of socializing, trying to do a little bit of working. It's a bit more of a complicated packing situation. So definitely a check in on the way to the States. Yeah.
Yep, agree. Um, and when you arrive in a destination,
Yeah.
either getting through the airport or arriving at the hotel, is there a tip that you would share with our listeners that makes it all easier or more pleasant for you?
Yeah, wow, good question. I think I'm going to come on the when you arrive and probably when you leave as well. So I think for me, when I arrive into a destination, and I think this actually might be alien to a lot of Americans because I tend to fly from Manchester into Orlando and then I have to sprint for the train, the Bright Line, down from Orlando to Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think for me, actually, what I do, especially when I come here, is I get off that train, I get in an Uber straight to the hotel, dump my bags, don't unpack anything, and head out for a beer. If I'm being honest, so I go straight into town and have a chill out beer, a way to relax, get my mind out of the travel, and then it's much easier to get back to the room and sort my life out. I
Um,
think go on, carry
you and Mike are like two peas in a pod. That's how Mike
on.
travels too. And I'm the opposite. I want to get everything sorted in the room, and then I'll go out for a beer.
It's fully unpacked. No, I need to because by the time I'll have been traveling, probably nigh on kind of 12 hours at that point. So it's definitely time for a beer. So yeah, it's good. But you know what? When going back, I'm actually one for getting to the airport relatively early. Again, set myself somewhere to work. Probably again with a beer if it's a late night flight, and then just work through everything I have to get back through before I get back to the UK. So I think the other tip for me is when I arrive, I'm normally late at night here, but if it was in the morning, which is a lot of my European destinations, I actually go out for a run. So, the first morning after arriving here, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm out for a run just for a bit of explore, see what everyone's up to, get to know the lay of the land again. So that's my way of exploring a destination is on my feet. So
You did tell me that when we met in New York that you were heading out for a run the next morning, and I was a little concerned we might never see you again. But thankfully,
yeah,
you made it.
yeah.
Um, so when you do travel, now this could get you in a little trouble as a tour operator, but when you do travel, do you have a favorite hotel brand or property or destination?
Yeah, interesting. Do you know what? No, I don't really pledge an allegiance to a hotel brand. For me, it's a bit more of a location thing. So when I first started coming down to Fort Lauderdale, I actually stayed on the beach quite a lot. But that was before we established an office downtown. So now I actually stay quite close to downtown. So for me, it's about location, ease. It's also where where all the amenities are. I think yes. I rightly or wrongly, I don't pledge an allegiance to a
No,
particular
that's a good answer.
yeah, for me, it's more about convenience as long as it's decent. I'm not saying like I'll stay in anything. So I do have a certain level. But yeah, convenience over anything else. Because for me, especially if let's say I'm not working, let's say I'm traveling for fun, I want to be in the heart of it. I'd rather be in the center of a city location rather than right on the outskirts because I wanted to stick to the brand I was on and have to travel in all the time. So yeah,
Sure, and that's for business travel, but of course that could lead us into a whole discussion really of river cruising because it's a
yeah,
similar idea, and river cruising is a very important product for you. But we're going to get into that in a minute because you've been very nice to share some personal details, and I think we ought to back it up with for our listeners. Who is this guy who seems to have this good advice about travel, what qualifies you. So really, it's a way of asking, you're currently president of a very important brand. How'd you get there?
that's interesting. So so straight from university, your term, college, as it were. I went straight into travel. So I've always worked in travel all my life. But even through university, whenever we kind of hit our holidays, I would travel. So I'd go for 2 months in Cape Town. I went for 3 months in Peru. So travel has always been a massive passion of mine, and it's how I love to see the world. So my first job ever in travel was actually a customer services role. So I started off in customer service, dealing with complaints, admin, etc., for a company called Nielsen Active Holidays. They're a UK sailing, skiing brand, really great brand. After that, I took actually a bit of a turn. Went and worked for the Daily Mail. Um, so obviously much more of a UK big publication, big newspaper over there. But I still worked in travel, so we kind of helped build a travel business within the Daily Mail that kind of got their readers, their consumers, onto our partners' holidays. And also, we had a huge readership. We obviously sometimes we had some empty paper in the space that we had to fulfill. So we promoted third-party holidays on that. And then I kind of got to a point where that's a big organization. I'm going to start again. So I went and helped someone set up a tailor-made travel business called Far and Wild. We focused on kind of East Africa to begin with, and then kind of spread out into the Indian Ocean, Asia, going into South America. And you know what? That was a great journey. It was hard. It was hard work, but it was a
Mm.
great journey because literally we set it up from nothing. Um, and we got to a point where we're doing some decent volumes for a startup. But again, I got to a point where I just need to try something new. There's a bit of a theme in this, so keep going, keep chugging away. And then I went and worked for an online travel agent in the UK, just understanding their product, their methodologies, their sales and reservations approach. And then it was actually in 2019, December 2019, I'd started working for Riviera as channel director, which over there means essentially I was looking after everything apart from direct sales. So trade, partnerships, the little bit of international we did at the time. We obviously then went through the big COVID era that I'm not going to talk
Mhm.
about too much, but we came out of the other end of it in a very strong position. And we kind of got to the point where we built back the business. The revenue and the profits were strong, so we could afford to start making headway in the US again. So, and I say again because we actually started up the US business back in about 2018, I think it was. But because of COVID, we had to put a bit of a hiatus on it. But we kind of came back to it last year in a bigger way. So now I'm looking after the US business for Riviera Travel. And again, it's great. It kind of taken some of that startup experience I had with Far and Wild, but is within a bigger businesses that allows us to accelerate that growth even more. It's a fantastic journey. We had 2, 3 people back in October, November time. We're almost up to 20 people, establishing an office in Fort Lauderdale, making a massive presence here. And I won't go into Riviera too much because I think we're going to go and talk about that a little bit more. But
Mm.
yeah, so that's my journey. I try and do something different every time. But yeah,
Well,
keeping
it
things
keeps it
interesting.
keeps it interesting, doesn't it? And there's something in you clearly who enjoys the challenge of a startup. It's where a lot of the work is, but it's also where the creativity and the excitement and so on. So it's an interesting pattern in your life.
It also creates a bit of disruption, James, which I'm a bit of a fan of as well. So, that's the way forward.
I see, I see. Well, we're gonna dig into that. Um, so let's help, our listeners, understand who Riviera is,
Yep.
because I'm going to hazard a guess that it's probably a pretty new name to most of them, right? And
Yeah. Yep.
we've done it very important to us in the UK. In our business in the UK, one of our strongest partnerships, we chartered a river cruise ship from you, and we do a lot of close work together. But here, newer to our US ears, anyhow, I didn't know about the start in 2018. That's very interesting. The timing, of course, change that. But so let's help. I don't mean to make you do a commercial, but I would like our listeners to understand who Riviera is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But you're right, by the way. Brand over here is brand awareness is one of our challenges.
Yeah.
You know, whilst we're big in the UK, it's part of our mission over here right now is to kind of grow that brand awareness. But so if we take a step back, so that Riviera's the UK's number one river cruise and touring operator. And we're in a great place to then enable us to become a really great premium market operator here in the US. And when I say number one, I mean that, by the way, in the UK. We're the biggest river cruise operator. We outsell every other river cruise line there is in the UK market. So we take full share. We're probably number two, number three in the touring space. So by the time you put those together, we're the biggest kind of river cruise and tour operator in the UK. And now that for me just positions us in a fantastic place to make sure we can accelerate our US growth as much as possible. So with Riviera being a UK operation, we proudly call Europe our home. We've been established for over 40 years. And we truly believe that we are the European experts when it comes to river cruise and tours because we live there. We're operate out of there. We're all over Europe. And we're so close that we can kind of really dig into the destinations and really kind of create some exceptional vacation experiences through our product team work tirelessly trying to find all the intricate details of a river cruise and what makes it a fantastic cruise. And by the way, we've got the credence to back that up because we in the UK and now to start in the US as well. But in the UK, we are multi-award winning river cruise line and touring line
Huh.
that recognizes our river cruise ships, our European touring destinations, also our team. So for the first time last year,
Yeah.
our UK trade team, our field sales team, won the best trade team in the UK for across the travel industry at one of the awards events there. So we're doing something
And
right.
a great reputation
Yeah,
for excellent service also.
yeah. So look, yeah, hopefully that kind of provides enough proof points that we can bring over the similar mindset here in the US, and we will be some of the easiest and best to do business with in the travel industry in the US.
So the let's talk about the product a little bit or the experiences that are available. On the river cruise side, it's the river cruises in Europe.
Yeah.
And are there other markets that you offer?
So right now, to the US consumer, it's going to be our river cruises in Europe that we focus on. We do actually offer to our UK consumers other rivers such as the Nile, the Mekong,
Mhm.
which we are investigating how we open those up to the US market
Sure.
going forward because they're a slightly different proposition to our core European river cruises. But yeah, so for the US market right now, it's going to be that core European destination that we're selling to from a river cruise perspective.
And it's Danube and Rhine and uh,
The Douro is one of the best sellers for us in
now in Portugal. Yeah.
yeah in the US. So do you know what? They're all cracking destinations and they all have their own unique selling points. So you kind of that's where the US market is you need to understand your consumer really well to understand what it is they actually want to go on and what they're going to enjoy the most. So we've got some fantastic ships all in that kind of upper premium space. Now we just launched two new ones this year, the Riviera Rose and the Riviera Radiance. We've got another new ship coming next year called the Riviera Resplendence. So we're adding to the fleet all the time with new vessels that just at the top of their class all the time. And I'm not just saying that; I truly actually believe and mean
How
that.
many passengers on board?
So probably averages out at about 170. It goes all the way from
Mhm.
a 120 on a Douro ship because they have to be slightly smaller to fit through the locks. So operationally, they just need to be smaller. Up to 170, 180 on say like a Danube or something like that. So
Right.
we're actually capacity wise, we're slightly smaller than perhaps some of our bigger competitors here in the US. But the way we see that is, it's intentional. It allows us to give a slightly higher service, make sure everything's on point all the time. So, yeah, it's slightly intentional.
So let's focus on that for a second because you use the term upper premium.
Yeah.
Can we explain to our audience here what that means?
Yeah, so I think look, it's a bit of our own terminology, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
We're not an ultra luxury line. We don't do butler service, we don't do all of that. But what we do offer is fantastic value for money on luxury ships. So our hardware is a luxury ship. Um, and the inclusions we have within our product in terms of all your excursions are included, and you now can actually purchase additional excursions if you want. From 2026, because there is a slight change in our proposition between 25 and 26, but in 2026, it's all included drinks. So that's on the go the whole time. So by the time you've got your all included drinks, fully included excursions, you're on a luxury ship at a great value for money. That level of service that we offer from a product perspective, but also pre and post, by the way, pre and post activity with regards to our contact center, customer service, etc. I think just puts us above the likes of some of our other premium competitors, especially when you kind of take into account the value for money proposition that we give.
Do you ever get asked this question? Because as a travel seller, this is sometimes how I look at it. Do you get asked what hotel brand you would compare the onboard experience to? Because sometimes we find as travel agents that helps us explain to customers what to expect. I would say you have competitors in the river cruise space whose onboard experience is like a Marriott, and there are some whose onboard experience is like a Four Seasons or a Ritz Carlton, right?
That's a good question. No, I've never been asked that question before, Chase. So it's not completely out of the blue. Look, we're definitely not kind of a Ritz Carlton, Marriott, or Marriott. I think we are. I'm trying to think of a relevant US brand to compare us against, but I guess we're probably one of some of the higher end Hiltons.
Yeah.
I'd say so. We're not, like I say, we're not into that ultra luxury space. We do
Okay.
the core staples really, really well, and we believe in it, and we execute it, and we don't scrimp. We're not trying to nickel and dime anyone with regards to the experience they're going to get. And by the way, if we think something's wrong, we'll fix it. We'll fix it there and then.
Look, the
Uh,
reports coming back from my advisors and customers are excellent, right?
Good.
I mean, the onboard experience, the service, the look and feel of the ships, the inclusions. You get, Riviera gets very, very high marks, guys. I can share that with you. What about the land tour side? What does that look like?
So that's actually 50% of our business in the UK
Is
in
it
terms of
really?
our passengers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we carry circa 100,000 passengers a year, of which 50% are river cruise, 50% are touring. Now we don't actually offer our standard touring program to the US consumer right now.
Huh?
Whether we do in the future or not is a bit of a question mark.
I see.
However, what we have started to do is combine some of our what we call signature tours with our river cruise. So there is a product type here we call Grand Tours that we sell to the US
Yeah.
market, which is that combination of our river
Yeah.
cruising and land tour experience. So there are a few itineraries out there right now that we're trialing for 2026 that are on sale that kind of combine, for example, a Heart of Italy tour. So you do some great touring around Italy, staying at some of the better hotels and experience some fantastic kind of one-off experiences. And then we fly you to the Douro, and then you do a Douro cruise. So so when you start combining all of that stuff together, and you've got a fantastic river cruise operation, a fantastic land tour, that's how we're kind of encroaching into the touring side within the US right now. But as I say, look, we might, and it is might at the moment, introduce the more standard kind of touring program going forward.
Well, those cruise tour packages have always been very successful
Yeah.
here in the States. from the theme park related ones that
Yeah.
Disney does to Princess had great cruise tour product in Alaska. I always enjoyed selling those. Customers really love them. It's just a bigger
Yeah.
experience, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Especially if you're flying over from North America and you want to spend a decent amount of time properly
Right.
exploring. And they're all fully guided, so, there's always a helping hand the whole way, so
That brings me to um, my next question, which is a little bit in service of no tourists allowed and our theme here. But we usually talk about the whole idea behind this podcast is to give people information they can use to travel in a better way, a more memorable way, a more authentic way, and less like stereotypical tourists. Of course, we're all tourists. I'm a tourist in life, but um, in more meaningful kind of travel experience. And so the question always comes up, particularly with cruise, but also with escorted tour, is can I get an authentic travel experience that way? Can I get a real sense of culture and how? Can I get a real sense of place? Or am I stuck on a ship
mhm,
in an artificial environment
yeah.
somewhere or stuck with a group and I can only do big group type stuff? So
Which
tell me what you
I'll
think.
explain, and keep prompting me along the way where I kinda go off track, but, no, I think, in all honesty, and this isn't me just saying it for the sake of it, I think river cruising is probably one of the most authentic ways of travel that you can actually do. Now, I knew nothing about river cruising, by the way, until I started working for the Daily Mail. So, probably halfway through my travel career. Um, and I think too many people still don't know about river cruising and the benefits it actually has from a travel perspective. You know, you're traveling along rivers that hold ancient journeys, for eons. People have been transporting up and down these rivers, whether it's been freight for travel, for anything, for decades and hundreds of years, for centuries. So it's one of the most traditional forms of travel you can have. The pace of life is fantastic. You can sit on your balcony. If you're doing a day sail, you can just watch the world go by. And by the way, you might be staring into someone's back garden, but it gives you an insight in terms of, their life and where they're at and so on. But let's take the Danube. Let's take the Blue Danube itinerary. Okay, you're going to three capital cities within that sailing. So, there aren't that many holidays or vacations you can go on whereby you're going to three capital cities. And by the way, we're going to give you an escorted tour within all of those capital cities to see all of the key highlights with that destination. And you're going to be guided by someone who's deep in the knowledge of it. And by the way, at the end of the day, you can get back to your luxury ship, which to get into that city centre is a 5 to 10 minute walk on the whole, depending on what destination you're in. You dock in the center of these capital cities.
That I think is a key point, right?
Oh,
Because many
gee.
of these cities are medieval cities, are cities with thousands of
Yeah,
years of history. So they were built around the rivers.
yeah, correct.
And so you are delivering travelers right into the center
Yeah,
in a sort of intimate, up close and personal way.
yeah,
And even the journey there, as you said, slow paced, within sight of the
yeah.
shoreline the whole time. And so it's not like you're taking a plane and flying so far above things that you don't see anything or on some motorway somewhere, but you're actually seeing the country. Yeah.
It's the best way for me. I think I think the most enjoyable bit is literally you can step off the boat and you can be in the center of a town or a city. And look, you fly into a city. It'll take you 45 minutes plus to just get into the middle of it. You're
Right.
literally stepping off. Your point around there's always something to see. The shoreline's always there. It's not like you've
Right.
got 2 ocean days in a 14-night itinerary. But you're always seeing whatever's around you, and there's some fascinating sights, even if it's just the freight that's going up and down the river, because the river's a living and breathing thing. It's a working thing, so there's always
Yeah.
happening. So Yeah,
And is there
it's
an opportunity to sample, to get out into restaurants, local restaurants and wines? And do you bring any of that back on the ship too?
Yes, yes. So I mean, so in terms of our food and wine offerings, we tailor those generally as much as we can do to the destinations that we're stopping in or the rivers that we're traveling down. Entertainment in an evening, we'll try and localize that as much as we can. So, for example, bringing Hungarian folk dancers onto the ship
Mm.
to entertain the guests and so on. Um, People do have free time if they wish to get off the ship and explore at their own free pace, whether that be coffee bars, restaurants, etc. Um, but we also, as I say, we do the guided tours through the city. So a lot of the time, people want to do that tour, immerse
Yep.
themselves in kind of the history, the culture, and then actually come back to the ship and sample the food and the drink that we, as I say, we try and tie it as close as we can to the destination.
And those tours are included, but you can go beyond that, right? You can purchase something a little more elaborate or a little.
So what we do is, yeah, so every port has an included excursion, but there are optional extras if you want to go and do them. So yeah, you just have to ask at the front desk and that will get sorted for you. What we're also doing now is actually just creating options even within the excursion. So some people might go on one type and others on another, depending on what their
Right.
own personal preferences were. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. So, and I imagine you're not offering the land tours yet, except in the Grand Tour
yeah.
kind of idea in the US. But my understanding of the current land tour industry is that there's been a lot of creativity around um, what's included in the itinerary, what you can add to the itinerary, the kinds of meal. In the old days, it was a motor coach to a group restaurant to it was a different kind of travel. Things are much more authentic and much more interesting, I think, now.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think, in terms of the offering, especially what we offer in terms of inclusions, is pretty inclusive. There isn't much actually that you can do that's not all you'd want that isn't included. The menus are varied, and I'd say that that's across all three kind of breakfast, lunch, dinner. So you're not having to get carted off to a restaurant just because the ship can't cater for differing needs or a little bit of variety. So yeah, look, I think the proposition we've created from a river cruise perspective is varied enough to suit most needs. I think where the land touring side of it, again with our touring, yeah, we do take people off to restaurants and so on because sometimes it's just the nicer way to eat and it's the nicer way to enjoy your holiday. Um, but yeah, I think the days are gone now where you kind of have to, or I hope they are, where you have to just travel to a restaurant to kind of get everyone out and fed and watered, rather than it being kind of a bit of a meaningful experience. So hopefully, if they are doing that, then it's part of a bigger, meaningful experience rather than just to
Sure.
take them out for dinner.
Well, look, we have a lot of different types of listeners on this broadcast. Thankfully, thank you, everyone. But who is the customer in North America for Riviera?
Yes, good question. So, who we believe the customer is for Riviera, is probably those that are 60 plus, kind of empty nesters. The kids have moved on. Um, so we think it's kind of, yeah, that 60 plus bracket really. But to be honest, most
I'm in that bracket.
yes. But also most people will enjoy it. So we actually, when we do our festive cruises, actually the age demographic swings a little bit lower because
Mhm.
actually people are quite up for doing a shorter duration festive cruise. But yeah, like, I'd say our core demographic, it's that 60 plus market. Um, but it's actually within that we've got a huge dedicated solos program. And when I say that, I mean
Wow.
we do sailings that only have solos people on. I'm not talking about solo cabins within a standard sailing. We've got a significant number of sailings that are just for solos. So if someone wants to
That's
travel on their
huge.
own, yeah, if someone wants to travel on their own, they can quite happily go on to this. And there's something coming. in the future, and I will give you the heads up, James. I just can't say it right now, but it's going to improve our solo offering even more. So, and by the way, we should be careful not to stereotype solos here. I don't mean that solos doesn't mean someone who's on their own. It means that, they could be with their partner. They've just got different travel preferences, so they're going to go off by themselves, or a group of ladies, a group of blokes that
Yeah.
just want to go away and do something different and be on a river cruise. So they'll all kind of come together. So the solo program is huge. The other program we've got, the groups program is significant for us. So, if there's a church group or a family group or anything like that, I'd be fairly confident in saying we probably have the best groups proposition in the river cruise market for the US. Yeah, so pretty confident in saying that. So
Those are 2 huge things. Solo travel and group travel is a big part of our business
yeah,
now, and it's sometimes hard to find product for solo travelers and even good product for group travelers. So these experiences are something to look into, guys, those of you listening, if you have that need. And when you say 60 plus, isn't there also maybe a qualifier in there? Are these more experienced travelers? Are they more adventurous travelers? Are they people who've sort of been there, done that with other things, or no?
that's a good question. I think it's probably a mix. I think it has to be people who are intrigued by the food of Europe. Those that want to get invested in their holiday. And I'm not saying it's an active holiday, but it's a thoughtful holiday. Those that
Mhm.
want to learn about different destinations, about different cultures. Now, that doesn't mean it's a one and only trip. I'm sure there will be people who have gone on similar river cruises um, over time. Um, but because of the range of rivers, actually, it's quite easy to get a distinct journey on a river that does cater differently. So Danube versus Rhine versus Seine versus Douro versus Rhone. There's quite a few to kind of explore and adventure on without before you have to start to duplicate. So I think, yeah, look, it's kind of that those that are really interested in that European destination, culture, food, wine, but also just want to travel, people that are like minded. I think
Yeah.
people who specifically want to go on a European river cruise, not everyone's the same, obviously, but you've got to have that similar mentality to want to go and do something like that. So, yes,
Right. You're not gonna encounter, um, you know, Caribbean booze cruise
I wouldn't
people.
have thought so. I wouldn't have thought so. I'm never going to say
Not that
no, but I
there's
wouldn't have
anything
thought
wrong
so.
with that.
Yeah.
It's just a different thing. Well, listen, you've given us a great window into, Riviera and into you too, so we appreciate you sharing with us. Anything else you wanna share before we say goodbye?
No, I get look, thank you for having me, James, more than anything else. Look, I think we as in Riviera have got a fantastic opportunity in the North American market. The product proposition is great. We're here for the long haul. This isn't a fleeting visit. The fact that we've kind of set up the infrastructure here to make all of this happening is fantastic. Like, huge amounts of ambition, huge amounts of kind of want this to succeed. So yeah, but we can only do it with the help of the US traveler and the US travel advisor. So very much
Well,
getting behind it.
I, for one, think you have an amazing product, and I think that you'll do very well. I would say best of luck to you, but my father used to say, "The harder I work, the luckier I get."
Yeah, yeah. We're here to work hard and make it work for the US. So yeah,
Yeah, I can
I'm
see
up for
that.
that goal.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much for being with us, Stuart.
No, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right, James. Well, I finally made it back from a meeting. Thank you for following through on that interview with Stuart.
No, it's very, very interesting. He's a great guy and an important guy in the business in the UK and now in the United States too, where Americans are really embracing river cruise, right? It must be one of the fastest growing parts of the travel industry. So it was great to talk to him. He really knows his stuff. And I think we've interested a lot of people in river cruise.
Yeah, as I've only taken my first river cruise maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I love it. My daughter is clamoring to go back again, and a lot of people think of it as trip or a cruise that older people do. But I
Yeah,
think it's multi-generational now.
it is. I mean, we talked to Stuart. I was really surprised at how young the average age is now, and then especially if you're going in the summertime, it gets even younger. But so, speaking of cruise, we've had some interesting, exciting news about cruise here for the last since the spring when we've been running our next free giveaway program, a luxury cruise for two, and teasing it out over a number of episodes. We've established that it is a luxury cruise for two guests in a balcony stateroom. It's a beautiful balcony to hang out over the sea, not too far out. But
Yeah.
and we established that it is a cruise in the Great Land, Alaska, one of the hottest markets in the cruise industry, and really a wonderful way to see Alaska because otherwise it's a little difficult to get around Alaska. But a cruise will take you everywhere you want to see. And we established that it is with the company that is famous for cruising Alaska, which is Princess.
The love
So,
boats.
yeah, the luxury cruise for two on the Love Boat with a warm jacket in Alaska, and we are giving it away. But you've got to be in it to win it.
That's right. So there's only one place that you can go to enter for this, and there's no charge, by the way. Just go to notouristallowed.com. You can click on the sweepstakes link or giveaway link, and there'll be instructions on how to register for yourself and another lucky guest or a friend of yours. And there are a few other ways that once you're on the site, you'll see some ways to increase your chances by sharing this podcast with your friends if you like it, telling them about it, and subscribing to the email list, and a couple other ways. So, please engage with us. We really enjoy bringing this content to you on a almost weekly basis, and love all the good feedback that we've gotten and are still getting, and would just like to reward one of our lucky winners with a cruise for two. So
Yeah.
let that be you.
Absolutely. And good luck to you. And next episode, Mike, now that we're back for a little while, um, I want us to talk a little bit about some of the headlines in the travel industry and the sort of sensationalism, the sort of attention grabbing headlines, the idea of responsible journalism in travel, and what these all mean. Do we really need to be afraid to travel in Mexico or worried about falling off a cruise ship or whatever, over tourism, sharks, this, that. Let's try to sort through it and help people understand.
Yeah, one of the things I've really been diving into, and I'm going to do a lot more research before our next call, is this AI dynamic pricing for airlines. So
Ah, yes.
Delta has embraced a new pricing, um, call it strategy software that uses AI to optimize. I think the word they use is optimize their revenue, which would typically mean your price is going to go up.
Yeah, it means getting more money out of us.
Yeah. So I will by this time next week I will have had a chance to really dig my heels into it. I've done some research already and spoken to a few people, but look forward to reporting back on that next week.
Okay, that'll be your topic, and mine will be the poop cruise.
The Blue Cruise. All right. Well, great. Well, thank you guys for listening in this week and really appreciate all of your support and all your kind words. If you have any suggestions for us, please go to notouristallowed.com and there's an area for feedback, or if there's something you'd like for us to cover, you can list it there. Also, if you want to share with any of your friends and family, um, they can download our podcast, the ones in the past, or they can subscribe for the ones in the future at anywhere that they get their podcasts, whatever service they use, whether it be Android, Apple, or Spotify, whatever the case may be.
Or you
We're
can see our beautiful mugs on YouTube.
Oh, that's right. It's on YouTube as well. Forgot about that. We get a lot of views and listens on YouTube. So that's a wrap for this week. James, thank you for covering that interview, and look forward to seeing you guys again next week.
Thank you, everybody.